And so it is to make this all about love. What is this? This turning to truth, this turning to yourself. It is to make it all about love and love only. Love longing for itself. That longing for love. In truth, the deepest longing that gets created as a desire is for love, is for connection. And when we make it all about love, we meet in the love that just is. True love, pure love that is undressed of all of the ways that love gets used for bargaining on the surface of life, as a way of measuring, as a way of validating and affirming. But of course, that's not true love. True love, pure love, is completely undressed of all conditions. And the true nature is unconditioned love, unconditional love. Unconditional love doesn't exist between two individuals. Unconditional love is the true nature. We can only meet underneath individuality in love. Where there is someone looking for something for me, wanting this awakening, wanting this freedom for me, then there is already a separation from love. When we make it all about love, that this is just about love. We could say the love of God, the love of truth, the love of the divine, the love of wholeness, the love of the self. It doesn't matter what words we use. But essentially, love is wholeness. Love is God. Love is the mother, right? What we are speaking of when we use these words is really wholeness. The wholeness that is so whole, so perfectly whole, that it is missing nothing. And this is the true nature. Wholeness. Wholeness is a very simple and wholesome word that doesn't have the same conceptual possibilities that could lead the mind astray, like God and Mother and divinity. It's exactly the same, exactly the same. But wholeness, we can feel the wholeness in wholeness, right? And this is the true nature. This is what we are longing for. And that wholeness is radiating unconditional love. So let's make it only about love. Let's make it only about love and wholeness. That this quest, this journey, is about turning inward and making it only about love. It's about meeting absolutely everything that plays as your life, where there is a sameness. Where is there a sameness? Where is there a sameness with every single thing that could create the idea of me and other? But if you remove, or let's say, go underneath the appearance of me and other, where is the sameness? Can you meet all of life as love in the sameness? Which is really life itself meeting itself in and as everything. There are many ways we could conceptualize this. There are ways that the mind could say, well, how do you do that? Go deeper than instruction. Go deeper than the mind's wanting to understand. And feel, where are we the same? Remove everything that creates comparison and difference. And feel the aliveness of where we are the same. Where we are the same is when we meet in that longing. And that longing is for love and wholeness. It is for truth, for the knowing of this wholeness and love as the true nature. We will never be satisfied or reach true fulfillment in any diluted measure of love or wholeness. And a diluted measure of love and wholeness are those qualities that we find on the surface of life, where we feel like we are experiencing that, but it has a cause, it has a reason. I feel whole when I'm in your company. I feel whole when I feel like you love me. I feel whole when I've got enough money in the bank that I feel secure and safe. I feel whole when the position that I'm playing in society feels successful and is being recognized. I feel loved. I feel love when I'm being seen and validated. I feel loved when we are getting on well and I feel like there's a flow between us. But you see, if you are looking to complete yourself in anything of the world, then there is still a sense that something is missing. Because then when that thing that brings a feeling of completeness, of wholeness, of love disappears or behaves in a way that we find disappointing, then suddenly what we are meeting is our own sense of lack. We're not actually meeting anything about the other, the apparent other. We're not meeting a failing in the other to love us properly, love us in the intimate way that we want to be loved. We're not meeting a failing in an other, and we are not meeting a failing in ourselves. We are meeting our sense of separation. We are meeting something in our own consciousness that has us feeling separate from the whole. We are meeting that part of our own consciousness that is experiencing a flavor of lack or something missing. And that is not a failing. That is innocent because that has been learned. It has been learned because it has been passed on by the beautiful beings that have been the characters in our life, that have been living the same innocent experience. And their experience of lack, so we could say the parents, the guardians' experience of lack, gets passed on to the children as an experience of lack. The subtleties of the flavors get passed on within the world of experience. But the glory is, the silver lining that's always here, the silver lining is the glory that all of that is just a story. All of that is just misunderstanding. If we take it to be true, then we are living in that lack. When we recognize in the truth of this moment, this direct moment, which is beyond the experience of differentiation and separation, this moment is wholeness. This moment is love, love itself, the self itself. So when we make it only about love and wholeness, we are here in this moment, in the fullness. And fullness, the fullness of this moment, brings the extraordinary possibility of knowing fulfillment, knowing the fulfillment that longing is actually longing for. And it is the meeting in the utter sameness. It's meeting everything, all of life in utter sameness. But this is very important. It is also meeting God in utter sameness. It is meeting divinity in utter sameness. It is meeting the Mother in the sameness. And what humility it takes to let go of all of the stories of lack, missing, unworthiness, unlovableness. What humility it takes to actually be perfectly divine. How can the mind understand that? It cannot. It cannot. So you can only feel the resonance of what is being spoken. It's not arrogance. It's truth. It is arrogant. Arrogant, we could say, to make the assumption of separation and to play the game of being the one that knows something. It is humility, utter humility, to recognize the divine nature. Here we meet how the mind can conceptualize God, divinity, the divine, right? Because the mind in its conception has an idea of some kind of elevation or betterness. And in that energetic dynamic of differentiation, comparison, unworthiness, there is this sense of, I cannot be that. I could not be that. Humble little me. But that is not true humility, playing out a humble ego. It's not humility. Playing it small is not humility. Playing the ego's game of being humble is not true humility. It's just another subtle form of arrogance. Ooh, that stings, doesn't it? But what does it sting, right? It stings exactly what we are trying to see through. We are wanting to see through all of these places where the ego sense creates a mask of spirituality, right? The ego itself can put on a mask of being a spiritual ego, and then it can convince itself that it's all okay. But it's still ego. It's ego just dressed up in its finery of spirituality. But it's still ego, right? And ego is separation. Ego is protection. Ego is defending. And what we are inviting is to shine the light on all the ways that consciousness plays out and keeps us away from the love and wholeness that we are so deeply, truly, and profoundly longing for. It's all innocence. So all of these words, all of this speaking, it has no opinion or judgment. It's completely clear of any kind of layering. The light shines and points. It is only the mind that creates the feeling of a sting or wrongness or failure, right? That's the mind judging the mind. It's the ego judging the ego. When there's a true seeing through, the light shines so brightly that there's laughter in true humility. There's a release of tension in true humility, because there's a letting go of all of the ways that we hold protection, hold defense. Yes, when the pointings come, the ego can move to defend, and that feels uncomfortable. But when true humility comes in, there's a letting go, there's a seeing through, because there's the recognition that none of it's personal. There's no one doing it right or wrong. Couldn't do it better. Couldn't do it better than what is happening now. There's no one doing it. It's just consciousness living itself to the available degree that it has the capacity to in this moment. It's not personal. So, when we make it all about love and wholeness, then we are aligning our commitment, our sincerity with truth, with the truth of what is longed for, the truth of who we already are. And we give this spaciousness for whatever is playing out in contraction, in the illusion of difference and comparison, of judgment and opinion. We don't allow that to take hold when we are committed to wholeness and love, because we bring love to whatever we find. How do we bring love to whatever we find? We feel the sameness. Feel what is underneath the play of difference. Feel what is underneath the play of me and other. What is underneath the story? Where is there a sameness? And where we find the sameness is in the presence of life itself, the pure presence of life itself, in the presence that is just being. We find the sameness. We find compassion. We find the humility if we are willing to meet in the sameness. Even if we can feel a flavor of something sticky on the surface, we can say, where is the sameness here? How can we meet underneath the stickiness? How can we meet underneath the story? This is how we come to know that the love that is true is never touched by the play of the world. This is how we come to know that wholeness is never, ever, ever not whole. Wholeness is wholeness is wholeness. It's how we come to know that what is playing on the surface is a moving, changing play of light. It's a play of experience, and it's not real in the way that we take it to be real. We could say it has a quality of realness in the moment, because everything that's here is God. God is also the world, right? But not in the way that the mind thinks that it's real. We have to know the truth of who we are before we can really, really know what that means. We say maybe that the world is not real. Only God is real. God is the world. Oh, how can that be true? It's like a koan, right? But you come to feel how that is true when the true nature is known. Because we leave behind the idea that everything is real with a sense of separation, to recognize that only God is reality, only the self is reality, love, wholeness is reality, the divinity. And then in that recognition, we recognize, and that self is also playing as the world. That there is no separation, no differentiation. But we have to leave behind all of our ideas and concepts in order to directly experience reality, in order to know that all of this is a divine reality. It's not a mental understanding. It's a shift in perspective of seeing, that when you are seeing from the true nature, then you are seeing everything as yourself. When you are seeing from a limited perspective, then there is a seeing from the perspective of that there's a me and other, seeing from limitation. The curious thing is that yes, we can have a quality of recognition, can know the true nature, can know the being, and yet there can still be areas where full integration hasn't happened, where even though you know the true nature, you know a quality of wholeness, of the divine, you know the being, but you're still finding areas where you see me and other. And that's where refinement is still happening. That's where everything is still coming to a unified perspective of seeing. And it's all natural within the play of consciousness. There's nothing that we can do or not do. It's all just happening. But when we make it all about love, when we make it all about wholeness, then there is this openness to receive life, to receive the areas that are still in the process of integration. Receive the areas of life where wholeness hasn't permeated right to the surface. There's nothing wrong. We have such an idea with the mind of needing to get it right, needing to be perfect, needing to be seen as perfect. And this is one area where spiritual ego can sneak in, right? It's innocent, but it sneaks in because there's an area of wanting to be seen as having got something, as not being seen as what the mind's idea of spiritual or awakened or whatever words we want to use. So then the spiritual ego mask comes on because there's a quality of trying to protect being seen in a certain way. But in truth, true nature knows the impersonal nature of everything. So it doesn't care. It doesn't care what happens on the surface of life because it knows. It knows that it's not about trying to protect or cover up. It's not about being understood or seen to be a certain way. And we get tested. We get tested by having to be seen the ways that maybe the me or the mind wouldn't want to be seen. We have to allow that everything is just playing the way it is, and we can never know why or how things are orchestrating the way that they are. We are moved and we are used in ways to create content for others. Right? So sometimes reactivity comes in. And then the mind says, oh, I should have known better than that. And wants to cover it up. But the truth is that what happens, happens. When there's true nature, it will pass very, very quickly when such a thing happens. There's not a hanging on, there's not a defending, there's not a trying to explain yourself, trying to justify yourself. There's just a recognition. Oh, wow. It doesn't mean that apologies don't come forward. It doesn't mean that we don't recognize if there are things to be seen through. There are so many subtleties in the way that it plays. But what we are really bringing forward and shining the light for are the ways that ego masks itself with spiritual ideas of perfection instead of truly living in the perfection of what is, the wholeness that just is, the love that just is. Everything is always moving in order for us to see more clearly. It's always offering us the possibility of more clarity, more brightness. refining itself, tidying up, clearing and clearing, sifting and sifting, so that more of the divine, more wholeness can get to the surface of life. Wholeness wants to integrate all the way through. It wants to bring its golden radiance, shining unconditional love all the way to the surface of life. It wants to barge its way into every single atom of your being, so that wholeness is the lived experience. It's the lived impersonal experience on the surface of life. So wholeness is coming for you. It's coming for you from the directionless everywhereness, where you cannot actually fathom where it's coming from. So it's absolutely useless to try to protect, because love, wholeness, beauty, it's coming for you. There's no defense against it, because it will come for you from whichever direction you are not guarding. Of that you can be sure. So it's impossible to cover every single infinite direction. It will come for you. It's coming for you. What you can feel is the joyous celebration that it's coming for you, because it's all that's longed for. And perhaps you can feel the edge of, oh my goodness, what does that mean? Because it's also in that push-pull dynamic. It's everything that's longed for. It's everything that's longed for. But mind says, oh goodness, what does that actually mean? You cannot know. You cannot know. There is something great and vast and unfathomable that calls us, that's calling us. That is the longing. You cannot stop it if you tried. Even if there's a sense of trying to redirect life, even if you never went to Satsang again, it would find you right in the center of whatever life you felt you were hiding in. It's not about going to Satsang. Actually, Satsang is a place where you've already made the surrender. You've said, okay, just go to Satsang and just be bathing in truth, right? It's actually the easy way. It's the smooth way. Because if this is the revelation, if this revelation of your own wholeness, of love, is due to be lived in this lifetime, then it will be lived in this lifetime to whatever degree it is ordained, to whatever degree it is orchestrated out of your very own consciousness. But when we say your very own consciousness, we're not speaking about a personal consciousness. We're speaking about your very own consciousness, that what you think is personal and individual is just a unique flow of consciousness. It's a unique cocktail of laws of nature that make up a sense of individuality. But the individuality has a uniqueness, yes, but it's not individual in a way of separation. So again, words can be tricky, because we could say on some level there is an individuality, but it's not an individuality that is separate ever from the whole. So you are always moving in a flow of oneness with totality. You're never moving apart from anything else. Everything is affecting everything else, but not in a cause and effect way that the mind in a quality of separation believes that if you do this, this happens, that everything is moving as one. It's touching and interacting and flowing as one. So your individuality is not a separateness. It's a unique flow of consciousness, but it's flowing as one with all, right? It's like, it's a really big pattern that you see when birds, starlings are, what's that called? Murmuration. I don't know what the word for that is, but where they're all flying together. I don't know if you call it when they're murmuring together. but you see, right? That's how each unique consciousness is moving. It's got a uniqueness. It's got its own flow, but it's moving completely in one dance. That is actually the most gorgeous worldly representation of how totality is moving. That's where we can see in nature the patterns of how true nature flows, right? They haven't all got together, had many, many meetings and worked out how they're going to choreograph that. Right? Right? You see? Not like, so like the snowbirds or the red arrows or whatever they're called that do that sort of thing in planes. They do that. They meet and they organize and they work out the technical way that they can mirror that. Incredible, absolutely incredible. But the birds, they're just consciousness moving, right? In a way, for even those beings that fly planes in those configurations, there is a way that there is a surrender into a flow of consciousness to allow that to happen. It's, this is where there are so many ways that surrender into the flow of consciousness happens beyond what we can understand. It's incredible. We are incredible. We are that divinity that is incredible, incredible, right? It takes humility to recognize the incredibleness of what we are, the beauty of what we are, the wholeness that we are, the perfection that we are. We're so wrapped up in what's wrong, what's missing, what's lacking, and all of the mind's ideas of trying to patch together an appearance of wholeness, of success. And it will always be a botched job. It will always be a botched job when it is the me trying to create an appearance of wholeness, when the glory is wholeness is who we are. Love is who we are. So we meet in the sameness. We meet in love, as love, only love. We meet in wholeness, as wholeness, only the wholeness that is ever whole. So as these words come, it is to just feel where you can feel the resonant aliveness of this truth as you. This is the only reason ever we resonate with all sorts of wisdom and teachings on the surface of life, is because we're feeling the resonance of truth. We're feeling the resonance of wholeness. And then we try to make it my knowledge, right? As soon as you try to make it your knowledge, you've taken a step away from wholeness. As soon as you try to own it with a me, you've taken a step away. Be willing to belong to the totality, to wholeness, to love, in its fullness, without needing to own it, without needing to control it. So you cannot know how to do that. So can you feel how all that is pointed to is about a surrender to feeling where you feel the truth? Notice that where you feel the truth, Where we are one, where you feel that resonance, there's happiness. There's no burden. There's nothing that needs anything. Where you feel the resonance, you already are. You already are the love. You already are the wholeness, the beauty. Where you feel that resonance, it's already done. There's no doer to do anything. It's already done. This moment here now is the fullness, the fulfillment of every hope, wish, desire, dream, longing, right? Because all of those hopes, wishes, desires, dreams, they are all interpretations of the pure longing, and they just carry you away from the true longing. So it's to be hopeless, wishless, dreamless, desireless, and fall into the purity of longing. The purity of longing is a felt sense, an alive sense. And it is love, it is wholeness. We could say it's love longing for you. It's wholeness magnetizing you into this revelation. But you see, there's no separation, there's no one here. You fall into the oneness that is wholeness. Holy, holy wholeness. Nothing more holy, nothing more sacred, nothing more divine than wholeness itself. And wholeness, singing its jubilant celebration, is silence. It's the song of silence. Make it all about love. Every living moment, let it be love itself. Living love. Life itself living as love. Flowing as love. You see, you have to be very slow, very aware in order to live so slowly, so awarely, that the love that you are can dance as the now, always. Slow enough that judgment and opinion and conditioned ways cannot just take a grip, take a grip, take a grip. Be the aware being that is so finely aware, watching for the habits to take over. See how quickly, how instinctually that which is conditioned can step in and create distraction away from yourself. So to live as the aware being is to live as love. It is to live the deepest value of wholeness that is known in order to open and open and open. We could say that wholeness, true wholeness, even when it plays as diversity, it never loses its utter wholeness, right? So the one is completely alive in its fullness at every point of infinity, because it never separates. It never ever separates. So that light, that indweller, it is utter wholeness. It's not a diluted, dimmed fragment of wholeness. It is wholeness itself. It's just a play. It's like a mirage. So wholeness, divinity, God, it leaves its spark of complete perfection at every point of infinity. It creates the appearance of many, but it is only ever one. Cannot work that out with the mind, because the mind, by its mechanism, will separate, can only feel the truth. And the truth of this resonance is your utter belonging to the oneness, that there never has been any separation. There is no division in any way, that you are wholeness itself. And this is why we would say, not I am God, but there is only God. We could be more comfortable to say I am wholeness, but we would still say there is only wholeness, because the I am is not ever, ever speaking about someone. The I am is just the presence. You see, where the mind is involved, the mind thinks that the I is me, but the I is what we are curiously questing to reveal its true nature. And its true nature is the presence, the amness, the isness. Perfection is present at every point in the infinite field. Wholeness is present at every point in the infinite field. It's like a hologram of the absolute, of the totality. So to make it all about love is profound indeed. To make it only about love and wholeness is profound indeed.